To have the ball in his court, Putin is apparently trying his level best. And now finally he has got some moves to make his country in the race to becoming a superpower. Surprised? With all the tension regarding war and destruction, he still somehow got his way to move back to the top. Get ready for a wild ride as we delve into the secrets behind Putin's calculated risk and discover just how far Russia could go into the coming years. With the war going on, Russia is losing everything and might not get up for a whole decade or maybe more. With so many sanctions, Putin knows that this is not something he should pay attention to. Rather, his focus is somewhere else. Russia has maintained building its military sites in the Arctic region despite suffering substantial losses in its war against Ukraine. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said in an exclusive interview with sources that there has been a major Russian military buildup in the high north, prompting the alliance to increase its presence in reaction to the rising tensions. In addition, a senior Western intelligence official informed CNN that Russia has pulled as many as three-quarters of its land forces out of the high north region near the Arctic to boost its stumbling invasion of its neighbor, Ukraine, which is consistent with the results. Images from Maxar technology satellite fleet obtained by CNN reveal upgrades to several Russian airfields and radar bases over a year. Maxar claims that the photos show the construction on radar stations in Olenegorsk on the Kola Peninsula in northwest Russia and in Vorkuta near the Arctic Circle is ongoing. One of 5 residence and radar systems is being built in Ostrovnoy, a site on the coast of the Barents Sea in western Russia, not far from the borders with Norway and Finland. Russian authorities assert that the resonance end can identify stealth planes and other concealed targets. According to Maxar's study of satellite imagery, 3 new radomes were completed this year at the Tixi air defense location in the extreme northeast. The runway had park and apron at Russia's most northern military installation. Nogorskoye Air Base are also being upgraded, as are those at the Temp Air Base on Kotelny Island in the country's northeast. Russia has spent years upgrading its northern defenses by updating a string of Soviet-era sites with cutting-edge technology. A large amount of its high-tech nuclear armament and submarine facilities are located in the Arctic region, making it an important hub for both the oil and gas industry and the country's nuclear defenses. That deterrence has always been ready, a senior Western intelligence official said. The official claimed that readiness was never down to low readiness. Rather, it maintained a high status throughout. Several submarines were moved at the beginning of the battle with Ukraine in February to demonstrate this is a serious capability, the person noted. But they quickly returned to their normal high readiness. For NATO Commander Stoltenberg, the shortest route from Russia to North America is over the Arctic North Pole. So the strategic significance of these regions has not diminished as a result of the conflict in Ukraine. His comments included, "We observe Russia restoring ancient Soviet bases, military installations, and testing novel weapons in the Arctic and the high north. It is important that they have managed to protect this area from consequences of the Ukrainian war." Malte Humpert, an Arctic Institute author who has written extensively on Arctic history, told the BBC. They're emphasizing the Arctic's energy resources, but they're also using the region to make a statement of strength. But there's a monetary aspect to this as well. Russia's Arctic region currently contributes about 20% of the country's GDP, and that number is expected to grow. For them, the region holds great financial potential. The top Western intelligence official stated that Russia has significantly reduced its troops' strength in the region as a result of the conflict in Ukraine. 25 to 28% of the original land forces are still up there. The naval component, meanwhile, is completely unscathed by the war, they said. As a result of the attacks on Ryazan and Saratov, 2 major airfields deep within Russia earlier this month, the person said, Russian military jets and bombers have been spread across the country and into the Arctic North. Russia has accused Ukraine of carrying out the attacks, while Ukraine has said nothing about the blasts against Russian military installations. As the Arctic ice cap quickly recedes, new maritime routes are fast opening up from Asia's southeast to Europe, taking a far quicker path along the Russian coast. If the Suez Canal were bypassed in favor of the Northern Sea route, travel time may be reduced by about 2 weeks. Russian state television has celebrated the debut of 4 atomic-powered icebreakers, which will increase Russia's regional might and influence. Moscow is allegedly trying to exercise excessive control over a route that should be open to all countries, according to critics. Russian President Vladimir Putin, speaking via video link at the launch of a new nuclear-powered icebreaker in St. Petersburg last month, November 22nd, said the development of the most important Northern Sea route will allow Russia to fully reveal its export potential and establish effective logistic routes, including the Southeast Asia. Yet, the conflict in Ukraine has increased NATO's involvement in the area. With a projected membership of Finland and Sweden, 7 of the 8 Arctic states will be members of NATO. The military might of the alliance has also increased. Norway revealed the first photos of US B-52 bombers flying over its territory in August, with Norwegian F-35 fighters and 2 Swedish JAS Gripen providing air cover. One example of NATO's stepped-up signaling is a recent test of the Rapid Dragon palletized munition deployment, which involved the complicated drop of a standard supply pallet from the rear of a C-130 cargo plane by US Special Forces. A cruise missile is hidden on the pallet, and it'll be launched when the pallet is dropped. The purpose of the demonstration was to show that the United States can deploy such advanced weaponry using only a standard cargo jet. The test was conducted in Norway, close to the country's border with Russia. NATO has grown increasingly worried about the possibility of sabotage of Norway's oil and gas infrastructure. Now that sanctions have been placed in Russian energy, some estimates have Norway's natural gas supplying over 20% of Europe's needs. Since the sabotage of the Baltic Sea, Stoltenberg stated, "We have doubled our presence with ships, with submarines, with maritime patrol aircraft in the Baltic and North Seas, partly to monitor, to have better situational awareness, but also to send a message of deterrence and readiness to protect this critical infrastructure." The NATO chief was alluding to the explosions that occurred at the Nord Stream pipeline in September, which Swedish prosecutors have concluded were the result of an act of sabotage due to the discovery of explosive at the blast locations. The senior intelligence officer did say that no big attacks on Norway's infrastructure had been attempted recently, and that the oil infrastructure is well secured presently. Russian President Vladimir Putin met with high-ranking security officials to discuss the current state of Russia's efforts to legally expand the outer bounds of its continental shelf in the Arctic Ocean. The talks focused on the status of Russia's activities. In 2021, Russia presented a proposal to the United Nations to redefine its continental shelf, which is widely thought to be home to enormous quantities of undiscovered oil and gas reserves. Moscow stated at the time that it desired significantly more seabed in the Arctic, a decision that has consequences for Canada and Denmark, both of which have competing claims in the region. According to international law, the term continental shelf refers to a region of water that's normally quite shallow and lies along the coast of a country. This region is regarded as an extension of the country's territory and gives the nation the ability to make use of its natural resources. Colleagues, we have several significant matters to discuss today, relating to both the domestic agenda and the problem of determining the outer boundary of Russia's continental shelf in the Arctic Ocean. Let's get to work. Putin was quoted as saying on the Kremlin website, "The Kremlin did not immediately disclose any other details about the meeting, which was attended by several high-ranking officials such as Sergei Shoigu, the Minister of Defense, and Sergei Narishkin, the Chief of Foreign Intelligence." Since Russia deployed tens of thousands of troops into Ukraine in February of the previous year, Russia's neighbors in the Arctic have been growing increasingly anxious about Moscow's ambitions in the strategically crucial region of the Arctic. Throughout the past several years, NATO member states have increased the number of military exercises that take place in the Arctic. This comes at the same time that Russia has built and updated its military infrastructure in the region. And that's all for the video. We will be right back with more such informative videos. Until then, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel.